But we also have a business side as well, where we hire, HR, finance, and also tech folks as well. And then you decide, hey, I want to make a difference. I really want to impact how we hire, who we hire, and how we bring in talent. And that's how you find most recruiters go over to the recruiting side of the being in the business. And a lot of employees now want to be able to take care of their families and be with their families and spend more time with their families, which is how the whole work from home or work remote thing now is front and center. I also have a data architect role that I'm having to help us build out data streams. So across every lane, we have opportunities within the company.
Good morning. So today I'm Mike with us, who's a poised and outgoing talent manager with a lively and enthusiastic demeanor, a knowledgeable authority on talent, and his guiding principle, which has proven successful, is to put the right person in the right job at the right time, which is something that's so important because if it's not the right time, usually a lot of things get messed up. So let's welcome Mike on 10 Minutes of Hiring Wisdom, where he will tell us about his experience doing this and how it led to a great outcome. Hi, Mike. How are you doing today?
Hey, how are you?
Good. Thank you, Mike. So, Mike, can you tell us about where you work and where your position is within the company?
Yeah, so I work for 30 Madison, and many of you may think of it as an agency, but it's healthcare tech. What we do is we have a clinical side where we hire doctors and nurse practitioners, but we also have a business side as well where we hire, HR, finance, and also tech folks as well.
Okay, would love to understand, Mike. So, I think the pandemic definitely caused a boom in a lot of head tech companies and everything. So, would love to understand how was 30 Madison affected and how was it like for you?
Yeah. So interestingly enough, we've been doing telemedicine for a few years. So when the pandemic happened, a lot of people were trying to get into that telemedicine space or trying to take care of their health issues virtually. What's good is we were already there. So we saw definitely an increase in our patients, and definitely an increase in people that are looking at us from an employment standpoint as well, because we were doing it. And that was really kind of the buzzword over the past 2 years was telemedicine and telehealth.
Okay, thank you for sharing that, Mike. So, Mike, I'd love to understand. I've spoken with a lot of recruiters, a lot of HR managers in the past, and they're like they just fell into the HR space, into the recruitment space, where they never had imagined that they would get into recruitment. So, how was your journey like? Did you decide actively that you wanted to become a part of recruitment? How was your journey?
Yeah, it's everyone you talk to, recruiters, they have a different story, but no one wakes up and says, "Hey, I want to be a recruiter." I think it's somewhat serendipitous. You're probably working on the business side of something, and then you decide, hey, I want to make a difference. I really want to impact how we hire, who we hire, and how we bring in talent. And that's how you find most recruiters go over to the recruiting side of the being in the business. And that was somewhat similar to me. I was on a training side of the business years ago, and then I used to always go to campus and help out the recruiters. And I'm like, this is fun. I love talking to people. I love being able to give people jobs. So that's when I really got into that side of business. So like every other recruiter, you never make up, want to be a recruiter. It's very serendipitous. And that's how I got in by being on one side of the business, seeing how it works, and then figuring I can make a difference by going to hire people.
Okay. So what was fun about hanging out with recruiters and being like, okay, this is something that I just want to understand your thought process behind that.
Yeah. So when I hired my first person or helped someone through the process, that's when the light bulb went on. I'm like, this is a great feeling, right? Because you have someone out there that may not be sure what they want to do in their career, or they may be hitting a brick wall when it comes to finding opportunities. And as a recruiter, you help in all those measures. You help a person figure out what they want to do and how to get them there. And if there's any, roadblocks, you help them get overcome those obstacles and overcome those roadblocks. So for me, it was sort of altruistic, right? You feel good about doing that stuff. And that's when it really hit me and said, this is what I want to do. And this is how I want to show up in the world, help people either figure out what they want to do or overcome those roadblocks. So that was my thought process. And then here I am.
Okay, so making a difference, helping people, love that. I think a lot of people like usually go to work and they're like, I want to find my bigger purpose. And you
Mhm.
definitely found your bigger purpose where you're making a difference in so many people's lives. So it's very
Absolutely.
inspiring. So thank you for sharing
Absolutely.
that, Mike. So Mike, would love to understand because you've been in the talent space for quite a while. Would love to understand how do you think the pandemic changed the way companies hire? a lot of companies used to have these long processes where by the time the candidates now get an offer, they already have accepted another job. So how does your company specifically make sure that they get the right candidates at the right time?
Yeah. So let me answer the other part of the question. So I think the pandemic really shifted who's in the driver's seat. I think for a long time, you found that most companies were in the driver's seat. Uh, so before the pandemic, we saw some signs of this in terms of companies offering free lunch and dry cleaning and all these things. But I think the pandemic really pushed it forward and added a new elements to what employees want. And a lot of employees now want to be able to take care of their families and be with their families and spend more time with their families, which is how the whole work from home or work remote thing now is front and center in a lot of conversations, right? So I think you see a lot of employees now in the driver's seat in terms of what they want to do. For us, as an employer, we looked at that and we said, okay, how can we really bridge the gap? What are we doing to ensure that people have a good work environment and can take care of their families? Right? You hear the term, work-life balance. Right? You hear that a lot, work-life balance. I don't know if I prescribe to the work-life balance. I think it's work-life integration, and what that means is you figure out how to work a certain schedule and how to integrate with your life. So if you're not a morning person, don't start at 9, don't start at 8, start at 10:30. And if you want to go beyond 5 o'clock, maybe stop at 5, have dinner, and maybe log back on at 7 when no one is in the office or it's quieted down, and you can do some focus time in terms of getting things done. So it's really about work-life integration, figuring out what's your lifestyle, what's your job, and how can they be integrated rather than trying to get a balance in terms of 50-50. I don't think someone should spend 50% of their time at work and 50% of the time at home. It should be more time at home. So the integration is really, I think, the most fruitful.
No, no, I love that. I think that's the first time I'm hearing that, and I can definitely see why you would say something like that, just because I think you can't do a 50-50. Some days there might be 30% of work, 70% of home time. So you need to understand that, but you need to also understand that you can decide your own schedule, and based on your productivity, your efficiency, you can manage your own schedule, which is something that's good about working from home these days. So that's excellent. So thank you for sharing that, Mike. So, Mike, another question. Your company, as in is growing. Would love to understand what kind of positions are open and what kind of people are more likely to thrive at your company specifically. What kind of characteristics do you look for in candidates?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would say we have three different lanes, right? Because we're telemedicine, we have the clinical side. So that's all your doctors, your nurses, your medical advisors, people that come from the medical background. Then you have your middle because you're a business, so you have your middle lane, right? That's HR, finance, marketing, your strategy and ops people, the people that make the business and the engine run. Then you have your third lane, which is your tech folks, right? These are the folks that are under the hood, ensuring that everything we do it well, and that we have technology behind us to make us more efficient. So I would say if I had to put in the buckets of lanes, those are three lanes.
Okay.
Um, so in terms of openings, I have openings across all those lanes, right? So think of it as a lane of traffic. Everyone is in each of those lanes. All the cars are in those lanes. All those lanes have full traffic that we're trying to hire for. But in terms of where we're finding that there is an opportunity, it's truly on the tech side and the clinical side, right? People that truly want to pivot in terms of coming from a traditional, hospital or healthcare, working in hospitals, working in triage, working in clinics, to figuring out how they can, really pivot to telemedicine and bring those skills utilizing technology to move forward. So that's where we find we have the most opportunity is to really find those people that have the clinical background. But we have roles across the entire lane of traffic. We have communication roles. I have a senior manager communication role I'm working on now that's hot and heavy. I also have a data architect role that I'm having to help us build out data streams. So across every lane, we have opportunities within the company.
Okay. So thank you for so much for sharing that. Your company is definitely growing. So the last question would be, what kind of people are more likely to thrive in your company?
Great question. I think you have to have a page what you call patient first mentality, right? Our value system is really about how do we make sure the patient has a positive outcome. So if you're not on the clinical side, well, then who's your patient? Well, your patient could be your customer then. So if I'm in HR and recruitment side, my patient or my customer is my internal hiring managers and my external candidate. So you have to go into it with a patient first or customer first mentality. The other part of the we find that works well for us, people that want to do better every day. So how you showed up yesterday, and if you didn't give it your all, no problem. Tomorrow's another opportunity for you to give it your all. So we say do better every day, right? And you have an opportunity every 24 hours when the clock changes. You have an opportunity to show up and do better. So for us, the people that thrive are people that want to put patient and customer first, and they also want to do better every day.
Oh, I love that. I think knew me. I think it's very important because I think a lot of people go into work and they're like, "Oh, I didn't do well," and it just like causes them to lose hope and everything, which isn't exactly the best case scenario because you need to understand you're human, you will mess up. But what matters is to understand that, okay, I am human, which means I can always improve and make myself better. So love that, love the company's mission and values. So it's definitely very inspiring. So Mike, our time is up. It was an absolute pleasure learning about you, your journey, what you've learned along the way, and how you got into recruitment. You're definitely making a difference in so many people's lives by working with a company that puts patients first, but also making a difference in people who are looking for a new career as well. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure.